Hey dear, Zumzi here, and I have a confession to make. I have not been genuinely psyched about a new manga series in ages. Just as a personal preference, I don't like to read serialized manga because I read them so quickly, and I just prefer to binge read and get the volumes themselves. And I think the only exceptions I've made have been for Hunter x Hunter and Tokyo Ghoul because I just found the characters and stories so fascinating. But one of those series is on hiatus, and Tokyo Ghoul, it's finished. So now I'm stuck left with a Tokyo Ghoul shaped hole in my heart, and I've been looking and in search for a new horror series with a perfect blend of humor and darkness. And oh boy, I think I found it. With Chainsaw Man, seriously. It debuted this week with Weekly Shounen Jump, and oh, it comes out swinging. So without diving into major spoilers, I want to tell you a little bit about the story and why I love it so much. For starters, it's about a boy who carries around a chainsaw and has a demon chainsaw dog sidekick. That's his shtick, but you can tell as much from the cover page and the title. But basically, the plot revolves around a boy named Denji who is drowning in debt and loans. So he sells his body parts and fights demons on the side for a little bit of extra cash. Hey, relatable for millennials, right? Minus maybe the demon slaying part and hopefully the body selling part. But anyways, this opening chapter hit the ground running and hooks you in right away. Like in the very first opening page, the protagonist tells us that he sold one of his balls into an eyeball, and then next thing we know, he's fighting a tomato demon, or a devil as they call it in this world. One thing I'd like to point out about this opening chapter is that it doesn't waste its time. It doesn't introduce too many new side characters or bog us down with unnecessary information. It just jumps straight into the action and takes you on a ride throughout. However, I guess one critique I would have is that it felt like it was almost 3 chapters or an entire volume condensed into one long debut chapter. And oh boy, did it get me hyped, but stylistically I felt like this is more going to be a plot-driven story versus a character story, and I almost wished that the story took or will take time to breathe a little and develop the relationship more between Denji and his dog. Still, Chainsaw Man is one of the most riveting manga I've read in a while, and I think part of that was due to how spot on the art style was. Like, if you look at the lines in the manga, they aren't smooth and polished. They're kind of rough and chaotic. And I think this encapsulates the mood so well. Like, when we shift into action sequences, we just get these stunning, raw, and detailed background images of, like, zombies. And yes, there's grotesque imagery, but it creeped me out in just the right way. I do have to give a huge disclaimer here and say that Chainsaw Man is done by Tatsuki Fujimoto, who wrote the infamous post-apocalyptic series called Fire Punch, which is known for its highly disturbing content. It's like wandering into a quarantine subreddit where you see a side of humanity you don't want to see, like the sex with dogs page. And this manga crossed a line even for me, and it's not just the sheer amount of cannibalism, mutilation, child abuse, and bestiality contained in the first 10 chapters that threw me off. It's the fact that I felt like trauma was used not as a way to psychologically explore it in a meaningful way. It felt more like shock value done to compensate for a boring and dull protagonist. However, one character who calls himself a movie director, and no, it's not Furuta, but they both look the same and have the same mole. But anyways, he comes in and he almost literally and figuratively redirects the story and makes it much more meta-aware and introspective, and I'm hoping that Chainsaw Man will continue in a more introspective manner instead of just pure shock value and let's torture everyone. However, it looks like Chainsaw Man is going to dial back on the graphic content because it's being published in Weekly Shounen Jump instead of Shounen Jump Plus, but we can still probably anticipate a lot of character deaths and characters put into brutal situations. Overall, though, this was a solid first chapter. It has me really excited. I want to see where the story goes, and I sincerely hope that it gets picked up as a series, because right now it's kind of in a test phase. But if you've read the chapter yet, let me know how you felt about it, and if you have any horror recommendations, because horror is my jam. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. See ya!